See it rise up. This is the little Piper Man here. Stand well. Capstan. Very nice. Quality control, McBarron. Original Navy cut. Nicely pressed. Great presentation. Quality. This is Capstan, 1.75 ounces. Virginia tobaccos have been selected for this blend. Citrus and grassy notes act amazingly together with a natural sweetness from the Virginia tobacco. This is probably the sweetest Virginia tobacco I've tried in a long time. A must try for everybody who appreciates a good, straightforward Virginia blend. My friend, for some of you might be expensive, a little expensive. This is hard to come by. I'm not telling you to smoke it because JWR token, but it gives me an understanding why he chose this and the complexity, just like the complexities of his story. It is said that when he died, he had tins all over the place, everywhere. So that's how they knew he smoked Capstan when he passed away. So in honor of the Hobbit, in honor of the Fellowship of the Ring, in honor of JRW Tolkien, I decided to buy this. I hadn't tried this in over 20 something years. More than last century, actually. Yeah, we're getting old, right? Smokes real well with a small. Most Virginia, you would think burn hot. It's also how you pack your bowl. That's why I like to use matches. Now you saw me the last month or so I used, because I couldn't get these matches. This is what I use. Couldn't get the matches. Now that I have, I can relax. Smoke, enjoy. Think. I watched a really good movie on it's not Netflix, it's the other, and the 12 Apostles. It was really interesting. The whole story about 12 men coming together, being eyewitnesses, seeing Jesus in Nazareth, talking to Jesus and eating with Jesus in Nazareth, being there in the front lines, all those that accused him, all those that wanted to kill him. He revolutionized everything, allowed women. He was breaking down the religious, dogmatic walls of the time in the Temple Mount. Talking about love, compassion. He was real revolutionary. Changed things around. You always find some of the followers that really don't understand the teacher and distort the teacher's teachings. We find that too. What I was studying the Quran. This Quran, I've read it 5 times. They say, oh, well, would you read the Quran? Well, I read the Communist Manifesto. I read Nietzsche, thus Zoroastrius. I read Immanuel Kant. I read Socrates. I read Herodotus, George Edward Gibbons. I had to educate myself. I get tired of watching TV and somebody, some philosopher, some theologian, some great expert is telling me, they're saying he's an expert, he's got a doctorate in this and that, and he's talking about a certain book. Am I gonna swallow the regurgitation, or am I gonna find firsthand? What I like about this Quran is written by a British man. And his name is Pickthall. His name was, it says the meaning of the glorious Quran, an explanatory translation by Marmaduke Pickthall, who was a some kind of teacher for some Indian sultan or something like that. And he has a different view. He's European British who studied and then became Muslim. So he has a very, very different view on what the Quran is about. And it's nothing like we see, which is a distortion. And the Christians have a distorted view of Muhammad. The Buddhists have a distortion view. It's amazing how men in power, religious men in power, can distort the truth, and then you have to go in for yourself and separate truth from fiction, truth from myth. And it seems that throughout most of my life it's been that way. You know, here in the beginning of the book, it talks about he had a great relationship with Jews. He had a great relationship with foreigners. He couldn't read and write. And so, you know, we tend to over-spiritualize people, make them bigger than what they are, make them grandiose. The same thing with the forefathers in America. Sometimes you make George Washington to be the father of the nation, and Benjamin Franklin was this character. Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, you know what he wrote, but then we don't look at the rest of his life and what he did, and he had slaves and yada yada yada. And the hypocrisy, his life was different from his ideals. You know? Look at Shakespeare. Fabulous writer, but hard to find out who he really was. The same thing with history. I found the latest DNA results that was done on my ancestors, the Taino Indians. Years ago, in the 1940s, a theory came that they were a subculture of the Maya Indians, that they came from the Yucatan Peninsula. Well, DNA was done by 300 buried Indians. They did the study, and they did the study on us live. I took the DNA test. They took a study of the South American region, indigenous region. Lo and behold, it comes out that 3,000 years ago, that the Taino people and other Caribbean Arawak were direct descendants from the Amazonian people. That they migrated along the Lesser Antilles into the major. They ended up on the small little islands, St. Grenada, St. Thomas, St. Croix. Until finally they got to Puerto Rico, they got the Dominican Republic, and they got to Cuba. And somehow they made it to Florida. And there's a connection between the Seminole and the Taino population. The languages are similar. So you see, time will tell. Was this DNA a lot of scientific truth? You no longer have to speculate. For example, you guys on death row, whether black or white, who unjustly were put in prison, and now the DNA tests are taken, and a lot of those guys are being set free. So much so that in Chicago, there's a total review. You know? There's a total review on a lot of the soldiers. And so that's the power of DNA. Now it said that a lot of these Palestinians are Jews, ancient Jews. They say they have claim to the land. The DNA result shows that. What are you going to do? You got the European Jews that came from Ashkenazi Jews. You got Sephardic Jews coming in. And then you have those that are indigenous to the land. Berbers, for thousands of years, claiming the same right. Now, they don't call themselves Jews. They call themselves Palestinians, but then that's a given name that was given to them by the Romans. Just like the name Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans, you guys call us Puerto Ricans. What the heck is a Puerto Rican? Christopher Columbus first called us Puerto Ricans. We didn't call ourselves that. And my ancestors didn't call themselves that. You think the Irish call themselves the Celtics? Those that lived in Africa call themselves African? No. That name came about because of a Roman general named Africanus. And he was born in North Africa, so they call everybody from there African, and it sticks. See, is a Latino. What is a Latino? Do you know? Latino was a derogatory term used in the Roman Empire for those that settled in Latium, northern Italy. Why they were called Latins? Because they came from North Africa and settled. There were different tribal groups that began to grow, and they fought the wars. And the Etruscans, who were the Etruscans? We call the Greeks Greeks. Yet they call themselves Macedonians. You have all these different tribal groups that came to and from Europe. And so anthropologists and historians give them a certain name because we don't know their name. So people begin to call themselves whatever the history book says. It's starting to come out. History's something that needs to be revised. Well, this state of the pipeman, pipe of the sailorman. Maybe the capstan allowed me to put my thinking cap on. You guys take care.